Let's start building our to-do application by implementing the add functionality. This will allow users to add new tasks to their list. Here's how our component structure is organized. We have a main component called Todo App. Inside, it renders two subcomponents, To-Do Form and To-Do List. The To-Do Form will handle the input and submission of new to-do items, while the To-Do List will display the existing todos. The To-Do App component is the parent component, which renders both the To-Do Form and To-Do List components. To-Do Form and To-Do List are the child components of the To-Do App component. To manage the state of our to-do list, we'll use the useState hook. We initialize a state variable called todos with an empty array. This array will hold all of our to-do items. We also define a function called setTodos, which will allow us to update the todos array. Next, we create the addToDo function, which takes text as input. It creates a new to-do object with a unique ID generated using date@now, the provided text, and a completed status set to false. Finally, it updates the Todo state array by adding the new to-do item to it, using the spread operator to create a new array with the existing todos and the new one. Let's look at the To-Do Form component. It receives a prop called onAddToDo, which is a function that will be called when the form is submitted. Inside the component, we use the useState hook to manage the input field's value. The input variable holds the current value of the input field, and the setInput function updates the input variable. The component returns a form containing an input field and a submit button. The input field's value is bound to the input state variable, and the onChange event is handled by the setInput function, which updates the input state variable whenever the user types something into the input field. The button allows the user to add a to-do item. Now, let's implement the handleSubmit function. This function will be called when the form is submitted. First, we call e.preventDefault to prevent the default form submission behavior, which would refresh the page. Next, we check if the input field has any content by calling input.trim. This removes any leading or trailing whitespace from the input. If the input field is not empty, we call the onAddToDo function, passing it the trimmed input value. This will add the new to-do item to the list. Finally, we call setInput to clear the input field, preparing it for the next to-do item. Now, let's connect the To-Do Form component to the To-Do App component. Inside the To-Do App component, we pass the addToDo function as a prop called onAddToDo to the To-Do Form component. This allows the To-Do Form component to call the addToDo function when the form is submitted, adding the new to-do item to the list. The To-Do List component receives the todos array as a prop, which it uses to render the list of to-do items. Here's the complete implementation of the form. The form has an onSubmit handler, which is called when the form is submitted. The input field is bound to the input state variable, and the onChange event is handled by the setInput function. The button has a type of submit, which triggers the onSubmit handler when clicked. As a working demo, we have existing to-do items like Learn React hooks, Build To-Do Form, Handle Form Submission. Also, we have Add New To-Do button to add items to the list. Here are the key takeaways from this lesson. We learned how to use the useState hook to manage form input and to-do list state. We also learned how to handle form submissions using controlled components and event handlers. We saw how to implement parent-child data flow using props, allowing components to communicate with each other. Finally, we learned how to validate form input by trimming whitespace and checking for empty states. Great job! To-do add functionality is complete. If you like this video, hit that like button and don't forget to subscribe. Visit CodeLucky.com for more such useful content.